estrogens especially, which damage the liver cells, and also the used up bile that is normally green but can turn black over a period of time. They're not technically, there are some stones that contain calcium, but they're more like cholesterol globules that build up in there.
So it's not good that I was loaded with black stones.
No, because what happens is the liver performs like 500 different functions in the body, and that means it is the filtration system in the system. It helps fight off infection, it protects your immune system, neutralizes toxins, manufactures proteins, hormones, it helps control blood sugar. So when the liver is fatty and toxic, which most people have a fatty and toxic liver, and most people don't know how easy it is, every single disease and symptom that people are associated with out there that the medical profession is diagnosing is associated or doesn't start until your liver becomes fatty or cirrhotic or your liver becomes malfunctioning. And with our research, we found that probably people only have 20% of their liver functioning on a daily basis. And that's what reactivates your body's own self-healing mechanism.
Why did I get so much more energy when, because I'd already gotten a lot following your directives, but once this happened, it was dramatic.
Well, the liver filters about 1.5 quarts of blood every minute. So think about if you had an oil filter in your car that was full of gunk and it was fatty and the oil couldn't press itself through there anymore. Ultimately, it would lead to disease and it would lead to malfunction.
The engine starts sputtering. Oh, I forgot the other part. I'm not a heavy drinker, but I do drink occasionally and I have a few drinks, a few glasses of wine. I've had Italian food. After I did the cleanse, alcohol had a much bigger effect on me.
Well, that's because your liver is starting to actually function again and repair itself. And that's the good news that I personally think everybody should go through a liver cleansing if you haven't done one, and then take for example, the Liver Shield can be taken 2 different ways. It can be taken as a liver support formula, where you just take a couple dropperfuls, but that's not going to purge the liver and remove all that stuff from it. In order to do that, you have to do the 6-day
Well, I'm going to walk through how the liver works, the different types of cleanses with you, and give you the floor, but I'm asking a lot of selfish questions here up front. How does the apple cider vinegar organic with the oxy powder and with the liver Trex over the 6-day cleanse, how does it then when you take the olive oil at the end, lay on your side for an hour as you go to sleep, why does it then have the gallbladder release?
Well, this is something that that is a very controversial issue, but results speak for themselves. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have done this, and it dates back even 1,000 years, drinking oils to cleanse and purge the liver. Actually, the Greeks and over in India with Ayurvedic medicine have done it the same way. But how it works is what you should do, and this is what our proprietary research led us to do back starting in the early 90s when we were looking at the best ways to cleanse the liver, was to develop an herbal formula that contains herbs that will help soften or break down these globules or these stones in the liver and the gallbladder. And that's really what the first 5 days is for. That's where you mix the bottle of Liver Shield. You pour the whole bottle in a gallon of distilled water, and then you drink 4 8-ounce glasses a day of that for 5 days. At the same time, though, you're also using the apple cider vinegar, and the full instructions will be up on your site probably by the time that we get done talking about it, because we were making some modifications before I came on. So I recommend, and that's going to be the liver flush kit that you guys that we put together exclusively for InfoWars, viewers and the people that want to support the InfoWar. So basically once you do that for 5 days, and of course you want to eat fairly healthy, you don't want to be putting a bunch of chemicals and toxins into your body. But then on day 5 is when you actually do the olive oil, and when you do Epsom salts, and the Epsom salts that you drink will actually help relax the bile duct and make it a lot more elastic, so any of the stones can pass through there, or the globules, the toxic globules. And then when you lay on you drink the olive oil, you lay on your right side because your liver is on the right side, and that heavy oil ends up absorbing down through your intestinal lining and going into the liver. And it kind of works like oil pulling, which is a big thing now. It was on Dr. Oz with the coconut oil where you swish it in your mouth, and oil has an affinity for toxic substances and absorbs some of those. And when you do the liver cleanse, you will actually form also little oil globulates as well. So the reason why you take, during the flush, the liver flush, the reason why you take oxy powder at the same time is because you want to be able to flush that out of the system, because when the liver dumps all those toxic balls and rocks and all that toxic buildup that's been in there for years and years and years, you want to have something to flush it out of the intestines. Years ago, they used to always use colonics or enemas whenever they did liver cleansing or liver flushing. But now, since we developed proprietary process of using the oxy powder with the oxygen, it's an easier way to do that. And it's amazing, once your liver becomes clean, the kind of things that you will see with the increased energy. And not only that, but you're focusing on the main organ system in your body that has a direct influence with how your body deals with symptoms and prevents disease, which is the liver. Because every single thing that causes disease out there ultimately goes through your liver. Actually, your emotions have a lot to do with toxic liver as well. Anger, fear, depression, anxiety.
By the way, you were saying this 10 years ago. Now mainstream news and science is going, yeah, the gut does affect mood. And wow, because our guts are dead because of all the herbicides and don't have the right bacteria, we're not creating the right amounts of melatonin and all sorts of other things. I mean, it's really simple, and so much of autism is connected to it. And the power structure knows all this. It's why they went after Dr. Wakefield and others. And now it turns out that all his science was real and fact-based, and they've exonerated his partner. So they're really trying to cover all this up. It's just crazy. Do we know on average what a healthy gallbladder would have? Would it have any stones? Because the media tells us, or at least in the old days, you don't need a gallbladder. I mean, pure bull. Tell folks what the gallbladder does and how it connects to the liver and how it gets dumped out in the gut. Or the intestines?
Well, I mean, basically the gallbladder just stores bile from the liver to help break down your fats. But that's an interesting subject because people have problems with weight gain. All the weight gain is associated with fatty liver because the liver is what really breaks down the fats. And with the high carbohydrate diet that everybody's on, you know, the pastas, all the pasta, the bread, the sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, all of that stuff converts to high levels of glucose in the liver, and it clogs the liver up, and that causes obesity. When I wrote a book and started looking for the real cause of obesity and the real cause of weight gain, yes, iodine deficiency was one of those, but it really all starts in the liver because the liver can't break down the fats properly.
Well, that's what my dad always says, and he's a lot skinnier than I am, and he's trying to get me to lose weight a few years ago, is he said, listen, drinking toxifies your liver, it processes the fat, and then it just pushes it all through and makes you gain weight. That's why you don't want to drink, because it then fries your liver. And then it's true.
It is. When I was writing a book called The 10 Super Secrets to Weight Loss, liver cleansing was the #1 thing to do. And once people did usually about 3 liver cleanses, at first I used to think 1 liver cleanse was enough. And we've had probably hundreds of thousands of people that have gone through liver cleanses. And the reviews out there online, I mean, this is not something that I perfected it as far as making sure it's all done organically and changed it up a little bit. But even looking at the results of liver cleanses for every kind of illness dating back, the success rates are amazing. But again, you're addressing the root cause of the problem.
They don't want to do it. They want to treat the symptoms and keep you sick forever. We'll be back to talk about how you do the cleanse, how often you should do the cleanse versus maintenance.
We're on the mark.
So it's a totally unfair and unbalanced fight. And now the rebels are the freedom fighters. The Syrian National Army are being beaten every place around Syria. So we've got to change the battlefield situation. And just sending arms, very frankly, although they need them very badly, they need anti-tank and anti-air weapons, is not going to change the situation on the ground, and the massacre goes on.
ISIS, blatantly supported by John McCain and the Pentagon, and hesitantly supplied tanks, rocket launchers, missile and anti-aircraft systems in accidental airdrops.
According to volunteer forces who are fighting the terrorists, American helicopters dropped boxes of weapons in Yatrib and Balad districts in the Salahuddin province. Now, the airdrop comes as the Iraqi army and volunteers are making significant gains against the terrorist group there. Now, back in October, the U.S. military admitted that a bundle of ammunition and weapons it had dropped over the Syrian border town of Kobani had ended up in the hands of ISIL members.
Now it has been confirmed that ISIS has stockpiled enough radioactive material to create weapons of mass destruction. In the ISIS magazine Dabiq, ISIS declared their intent to acquire a nuclear warhead from Pakistan with their billions of stolen funds gobbled up as they ransacked banks and took control of oil fields across Iraq and Syria. ISIS claims that all they have to do is call on their leaders in Pakistan to purchase a nuclear device through weapons dealers with links to corrupt officials in the region. India's defense minister, Rao Inderjit Singh, made the remark, with the rise of ISIS in West Asia, one is afraid to an extent that perhaps they might get access to a nuclear arsenal from states like Pakistan. Bloomberg quoted him as saying, ISIS admits that the scenario is a bit exaggerated, but then points out that a few thousand tons of ammonium nitrate explosive used in mining operations, or the weaponization of toxic chlorine as the gas bertholite, would be easy enough to make.
And it's designed to target mainly an American audience that is not geopolitically informed and doesn't know what's been happening for over 2.5 years in Syria, where NATO and the United States, that includes France, England, you name it, have injected over 100,000 foreign fighters from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from so many other countries that are al-Qaeda in over 60% of the cases. That's admitted. They are engaging in incredible atrocities across the nation. And 3 times in the last 2 years, they have been caught staging chemical attacks. They've been caught. Even mainstream news admits in the back of the paper, okay, they staged it. It's the type they used, they did it, to blame Assad and the Syrian military so they can take over.
There is a reason why President Obama
There's a reason the White House science czar wrote a book about brain damaging us with it.
Proliferation of these weapons.
Because you're a bunch of murderous, psychopathic bastards. And I'm so sick of watching you commit crime after crime and running al-Qaeda.
That this
John Kerry,
norm cannot be violated without consequences.
Liar.
And there is a reason why, no matter what you believe about Syria,
no matter what you believe,
all peoples and all nations who believe in the cause of our common humanity, should support them injecting al-Qaeda rebels to try to overthrow the government and kill all the Christians.
ISIS is about 30,000 irregulars. They're not technically trained to fight. They have only the heavy equipment that they capture from us.
Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop says NATO is deeply concerned about radioactive materials ISIS has seized from research centers and hospitals that are exclusive to government stockpiles. ISIS has already been pushing its way into Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and other parts of the Middle East, becoming, as UK Home Secretary Theresa May declared, just months away from becoming the world's first truly terrorist state. ISIS has essentially reached this plateau of potential mass devastation in roughly 1 year. They will not rest until their perfect storm of globalized militant groups have unleashed its full scope of U.S.-backed intelligence and funding on the American public. Of course, whether they have weapons or not is beside the point. ISIS is already very successful at engaging the media in a giant psyop to terrorize the public and keep a firm grip on American freedoms as deemed necessary by the elite corporocratic succubus as they prepare the final phases of construction of the superstructure of a new world order. John Bound for Infowars.com.
Thought it was important to air that special report. When that report went up yesterday on Infowars.com, after it had been on the nightly news, I saw a minority of people in the comments going, which is it? Does ISIS exist or not exist? People build intellectual straw men, or they're not smart enough to understand what I'm saying. This is Al-Qaeda 2.0. The original Al-Qaeda was synthetic, led by Western intelligence, Saudi Arabia. That's come out. Now it's a larger proxy army to take over areas, but it's not fully controlled by the globalists. They're just turning it loose, like in Libya and other areas. When it gets out of control and attacks areas they don't want attacked, they then bomb it. They then use the threat in Africa to invade the whole country, or the whole continent. Boko Haram crisis, U.S. to fund Nigerian-led force to counter Boko Haram. Bibi